Dancers have a lot to balance. From their pirouettes to their jumps, a dancer's performance is a direct result of hard work and motivation. So where does food fit into this? There's a lot of myths and a ton of antiquated ideals about what a dancer's diet should look like. I'm Rachel Fine, registered dietitian nutritionist and founder of To The Point Nutrition, and I'm here to dispel those.
Hello, everyone. I'm Eunice Suba. I am a professional dancer with New Jersey Ballet Company. I have been a company dancer with them since 2017, right after graduating high school. Before that, I was a part of the New Jersey School of Ballet as a student. And even before that, I was actually a competition dancer at a small dance studio where I grew up. So yeah, that's basically my little intro.
A fellow tri-state area dancer.
Yes.
Nice. So you're enjoying this, or not enjoying this dreary weather that we have
I
for all week.
know. I was like, so right now I have my little lamp on for like lighting. Because I was like, if I don't have it on, you might not be able to see me because it's so sad out right now.
Yeah. It is. Well, Eunice, I would love to hear a bit about your journey, particularly going from competition dancer to full ballet company life, because it's different. There's a shift there. So I really want to hear about your experience and some of the obstacles or challenges that you may have faced during that shift.
Yes. Okay, so when I first started dancing, like from the very beginning, I remember my mom telling me that she just wanted to put me into dance classes because she always wanted like a daughter who did ballet, right? Like the typical thing like that. And I actually, from the beginning, I think it was like the first 2 weeks of dancing, I was only 8 years old. I wanted to quit already. And it was because I was having a hard time, just because like learning dance for the first time. I remember I couldn't do a split and I was like all sad and upset. So, but thankfully I didn't quit at that time. And the reason was actually because the owner of the school told my mom, like, you already paid for the tuition, so maybe like give it a year, and then if she doesn't like it, then we wouldn't come back. But I ended up loving it. So what happened was I got into the dance competition troupe. They called it a dance troupe at that school. And the director asked my mom if I could join the team. And I started by having a solo for a competition and then also doing group dances, duets, and things like that. So sorry, I'm getting like notifications.
Don't worry.
So at the competition school, it's very different from being in like a ballet school. And so I went from, I don't know if like, I'm sure so many people who are watching have probably like heard of the show Dance Moms. But basically that is, without all like the crazy drama, but that's basically like what it's very similar to, where you go to school, to a competition school, you learn a bunch of routines, and then you have to compete with all these routines. So I would be learning, like, I think there were times where I had to learn 10 different dances, and they were different styles. Like I remember I had 4 solos, a point solo, jazz solo, lyrical solo, contemporary, and then after that I had duets. And for the duets, maybe I had like a lyrical and then a contemporary duet. And then for group dances, I had a jazz, lyrical, tap, group dance. Like it was like a whole variety. So yeah, so then to transition into the ballet world, the reason why I got into ballet was because I had a ballet teacher at the studio who told me that I should try to take more ballet classes to help me with my technique for the other styles of dance. And so I ended up going to New Jersey School of Ballet just to take open classes. I think I only went like once a week. And I realized, I think I was 11 years old when I first went to New Jersey School of Ballet. And I noticed how much ballet helped me with my other styles of dance. And so then I started to realize that, and I really loved that idea. And I think that's what made me start to like ballet, was because I was like, oh, this is really helping me with my technique. Um, Eventually, I think it was like the year after, the director at that time of New Jersey School of Ballet, which was Carolyn Clark, she asked my mom if I could join the intensive program. And at first well, I knew I wanted to, but I was like, I don't know if I have time, because at the competition school, I was there almost every day. I think I only had like a day off. And I also went to public school. So it was like, I didn't know how we would fit it into the schedule, but she offered to have me come into the intensive, maybe instead of 4 days a week, because that was the program at the time. She offered for me to go 3 times a week. So I started with that at 14 years old. I went to New Jersey School of Ballet and went to the competition school at the same time. So I had a really crazy schedule. And on top of that was just a normal public school student. So I would go to school. Then after school, I would either be at the competition school, or I would be at the ballet school. Now, sorry, I'm like
No.
babbling.
This is great. You're not babbling.
So so that was 14 years old, I was doing both. And then I think it was 2015, so the year after, or 2 years after, I decided that I think I want to pursue ballet and concentrate on ballet. And I felt like at that time that it was later than usual. I feel like there's a lot of ballet dancers who from the start knew like ballet was the like probably like the one for them. So I was scared, because I was like, is it too late? But because of like during that time when I did join the intensive at New Jersey School of Ballet when I was 14, it was also, I think that was the first year I joined a summer intensive, a summer ballet intensive. And I had no idea, like my mom had no idea either, about what that whole process was like. And I didn't know that like people were doing like summer dance intensives since they were really little. And so it was, that part of the whole process was definitely late for me. But I went to this one intensive, and that was when I knew, I was like, oh, maybe I can do this possibly in the future. And it was the New Jersey Dance Theater Ensemble. It was a small intensive they had. And there was a ballet teacher there who saw potential in me. And for the showcase, she had to choose somebody to dance one of the variations. And it was actually a variation from Sleeping Beauty. It was a Jules variation. And out of, I think she chose 4 people to learn it. I got to showcase it at that intensive. And again, everything, like all about like the ballet world was very new to me. So when I was chosen to dance that variation, I was just like, oh, this is exciting.
Yeah.
But she talked to my mom personally, her and the director of that program, and they said that they saw a lot of potential in me for ballet. And so it was really from there where I started to think like, oh, okay, what can I do with more with just ballet?
Yeah.
Because they told us like she could possibly become a professional and this and that. And I actually was unaware of like the whole, like how it is.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
Yeah.
it was after that where I started to concentrate on ballet. And then 2015 was my last year being a part of the competition school. And after that, I strictly went to New Jersey School of Ballet. And it was definitely really different. It was really different because I was so used to doing all these different styles of dance. But I really saw how, like, I feel like when I was at the competition schools, I was more, it's not that it wasn't like strict or serious or anything like that, but I feel like I was just there like more dancing for fun. Whereas when I went right into the ballet world, it was so different. I mean, just from the moment you step into like a classroom, like in a ballet class, it's like there's a certain etiquette that you have, like things like as simple as that. But yeah, everything was different, but oh, what a journey.
That is a really nice journey to hear about. I work with a lot of dancers in these two worlds. I work with a lot of dancers who are very much in that competition world, who are balancing. There are these competitions now, these dancers are balancing up to 18 dances. Like, I mean, it's wild, the things that some of my dancer clients are doing. And then I have the dancers who are in more of the pre-professional ballet track. And each of these worlds carries with it very similar, but also some different challenges. I will say one of the biggest similar challenges that we see are the time constraints and what often leads to a lot of dancers not connecting the dots between like fueling their bodies for these very busy, intense days, and then unfortunately experiencing the negative implications of that, right? So under fueling leading to hormonal imbalance, leading to injury. So I'm curious to hear from you along this journey, because it was quite a journey for you, and I love to hear about that transition, because I think it can feel not just relatable for some dancers, but also maybe for some dancers who are in the competition world questioning whether or not they can make that shift. So hearing that you did it is really reassuring for them. But really hearing when you made the connection between, okay, I gotta fuel my body like an athlete for the amount that I'm dancing.
So yeah, this is a big one. And fortunately, because when I was a competition dancer, I was young. And so I had my mom to really, and I still have my mom to really help me with making sure that I was fueling my body, making sure to create balanced meals, and all of that for when I was doing competition. Now, with ballet, like as I started to get older, I think like those who know me know that there were many times where I faced a lot of challenges with body image. And I think that is so common in the ballet world, as we know. And I think that is and still like a major challenge. And that's the first thing that comes to my mind, where when I transitioned to ballet, I didn't think that would be a challenge, because I actually was not even thinking about that when I was a competition dancer. So when I joined the company at like 18 or 19, there was a point where I was really unhealthy. I was never diagnosed with an eating disorder. However, I know like that if I did like go for help, that I probably would have, because it like came to a point where I was really not eating enough. And that was really the time where I realized how important it is to fuel the body, especially for a career like this, whether it's in ballet or anything, musical theater, like all performing arts, any sport too, right? Like it's so important to fuel the body with food, just food and water. And yeah, it's like, I think it was probably like 20, not 18, 19 was, I
Yeah.
was not good. But af after that, I would say maybe like when I was 20, like later, like 21, when I really started to pay more attention to what I was eating,
Hmm.
um, and making sure that I was getting enough food for my
Yeah.
workday.
Yeah.
Um,
You bring up
yeah.
something that's really important here, and that's that a lot of dancers don't really know that they're partaking in what we can call disordered eating. There's such a
Hmm.
spectrum of what we consider to be disordered eating that it doesn't necessarily take a diagnosis
Hmm.
to be struggling. And unfortunately, most of the dancers that I see, they have not had a diagnosis of, let's just say, an eating disorder, but their behaviors are unfortunately very they're struggling. They're struggling to get enough in, whether it's intentional or unintentional. And unfortunately, we see a lot of these behaviors glorified just because of
Yeah.
dancer diet culture. So it's a whole world. And, that's really the purpose of why I do so much outreach here on Instagram, is to just educate about those habits that are disordered versus the habits that are actually going to sustain you as a dancer. And kind of shifting it from food, I'm curious to hear, because I mean, you just in your journey that you discussed with us,
Hmm.
there you had a lot of elements going on. You were still doing regular school, you were dancing, you were doing multiple styles of dance, and then you shifted to pre-pro ballerina and now professional life. How do you continue to maintain balance in your life so that you don't feel necessarily on the brink of burnout?
Okay. So I will say, like, it's difficult.
Yeah.
I think that I am still trying to find that balance.
Mm-hmm.
Um, just recently, I'm so for 8 years, I have been dancing professionally full time, but going to school at the same time and teaching also. And so over the eight course of 8 years, I have been trying to find that time to have that balance and not get burnout, because it has happened before where I did feel burnt out. Um, so I think in order to do that, you just really have to sometimes just sit back, like when everything feels like a lot. You have to sit back alone and really take time to think, like, what can I do to prevent the burnout, and what can I possibly remove from my schedule to make things better, for my well-being.
Yeah.
So there were times where I think, like, this was like maybe 2 years ago, where I was, since again I was in school, I was teaching a lot. I think I was teaching 3 days a week, which maybe doesn't sound like a lot, but it is a lot with working, like dancing full time and then having school. And so I remember I didn't have a day off at all. So it wasn't even like my day off from New Jersey Ballet would be a day of me doing homework,
Mm-hmm.
or a day for me teaching, or teaching and doing homework. So it was like every day was something. And so I remember I had to like sit down with the one school I taught with, and I was just honest, and I was like, I would have been really trying to like balance everything, but I think I just really need one full day to just be with myself, really, like, and
Mm-hmm.
not anyone, and just relax.
Yeah.
Because I think it's so important to not only rest the body, but also rest the mind. um, as dancers, we're constantly working, like, with our brain and our body. And then the thing is, if you have to teach after, for example, then it's the same thing with teaching. dance. Like you have to also be physical and then making up combinations. And so like, and then to add on school, you're thinking a lot, even if you're sitting at a chair, like, you know, so by the end of the day, it's like my brain will feel like mush.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, I think with finding balance, it's definitely really hard. And I, again, like I will be honest, like this season, was really difficult, for me only because it's my last year as a college student. I'm
Mm-hmm.
actually graduating, and it was a lot of work.
Yeah.
So I think any moment I was able to take to just lay down and rest, um, even if it was just like for a day or half a day, then I took it. Um, but yeah, I think my best advice with finding balance though is just it's different for everyone. I think something that I do a lot of the times if I have nothing to do, so like maybe I'm on a break, sometimes I'll put too much on my plate,
Mm-hmm.
like because I'm like, what's next? What's next? What's next? And sometimes you just have to take a deep breath and be like, okay, maybe I could brainstorm, right, what I could do next, but don't like grab too much already to the point where it's too late to kind of, balance it all out, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it does make sense. And a couple takeaways, because actually you actually answered the final question that I was going to ask is how would you redefine the healthy dancer? And there's so many takeaways from what you just said. But the biggest one that I want to hone in on for everybody that's watching is that you have a beautiful ability to recognize when it's time to take that step back, right? And that's
Mm,
huge. That's huge. Being able to recognize, okay, I'm entering what feels very imbalanced in life. Let me sit down, exactly what you said. Let me sit down and almost really scan. I call this the healthy dancer body of evidence. How can we like scan our current self, our body internally, but also externally, and identify what we need in this moment, whether that's
mm,
for you was a day off, and that meant setting a boundary, right? That meant setting a
mm,
boundary with your workplace to get that day off. And I think this is so incredibly important for dancers to understand, because sometimes not only do we have to do that recognition and be aware of what our body needs to prevent future injury or burnout, but also we need to take the next step, right? We need to take the
mm.
next step to intervene for ourselves. And it sounds like you've been able to do that, obviously, to an extent. All of this
Mm,
ebbs and flows, right? You're finishing
yeah.
college. I've been there. It's hard. And you're gonna have those experiences. But you've shared such beautiful insight for us today. I truly am so appreciative of it. Thank you so
You're
much.
welcome. Thank you for having me.
Of course, it was such a pleasure, and I look forward to continuing to connect.
Yes, yes. Thank you so much for having me. This was really a joy.
You're welcome, and we'll talk soon.
Yes.